You may really like these games, but we didn't.
Here's our top 5 biggest misses. I'm Devin.
And I'm Paul.
And today we are talking about just those games that we didn't enjoy, right? For whatever reason it could have been. Maybe it was the theme, maybe it was the mechanics. Others seemed to like them, but we just didn't. We'll kick it off with number 5. My number 5 has got to be Twilight Inscription. This was a game I went into thinking I was going to really enjoy, right? I like roll and writes. I like crunchy roll and writes. You know, people were comparing it to a Hadrian's Wall. They were saying this is the biggest roll and write there is. And to me, that's all it was. It was just big. But the substance wasn't quite there. It had the interesting mechanic of choosing which board you were going to go on, but ultimately I just felt like you had very limited decision space. It was once you picked the board, there's very little you could actually do on that board, right? You pick your navigation board, all you're doing is moving. You pick the, can't even remember what they were all called, but kind of the one that lets you fill out the planets. That's all you're doing there. Connecting the little resource network, building the warships. It just really, in my mind, there was 4 different actions, and then you had little auxiliary actions that played into it, but it didn't quite click. I played it a couple times and then felt like I did everything I could do in that game. I don't really want to play it again.
Yeah, we played it at BGG-Con. I want to say it was last year. And I remember going into it super excited, kind of like, Hadrian's Wall, but with more player interaction, because that's kind of what Hadrian's Wall was missing for me. But really the only interaction was the war, the kind of fighting, and it really wasn't that much either. There was a voting mechanic that really didn't hit well either, right? It was just kind of it seemed like it was just kind of thrown in there. But yeah, I mean, I wanted to go in liking it. I really liked roll and writes. I remember you had said, I think it was like the second time you had played it, that you pretty much did what you think could be the best you could ever do, and there was nothing worth exploring anymore. But yeah, I don't know. It was just kind of a mid game for us, and I was expecting a lot from it, and it didn't satisfy those needs.
Yeah, so that was my number 5. Paul, over to yours.
So for my number 5, I have Honey Buzz. Honey Buzz, I know this is not on your list whatsoever. This is just a complete miss for you, right? It was just a game that you did not enjoy, but I really did see some potential in this game. First of all, the theme, super adorable. I loved, just the thought of having your little honeybees going out and collecting nectar and then bringing them back and making your little hive. And then, when you connect them all, it just triggers all of these actions at once. But it really didn't feel that satisfying. It felt like a lot of work for a little bit of return, right? You were doing all this cool stuff, and then it seemed kind of just like this little part was added on, and it didn't really make a lot of sense with the game, and it just didn't satisfy what I wanted from the game, right? I wanted to make all these combos and trigger all of these other actions to then cascade and fall down over here, and it just never did that for me.
Yeah, trash game. That's it. Let's get to number 4. Okay, so for my number 4 miss, got to be Founders of Teotihuacan. Played this once, never need to play it again. It's not that it was necessarily a bad game, but it was advertised as being this lighter, quicker, easier to teach kind of version of Teotihuacan. And I just felt like it was just completely stripped down, really felt like a totally different game with the same theme. And yeah, there was only so many actions you could do, but honestly, it was way too AP prone for what it was actually trying to be. I just didn't quite like it. It ended up taking so long in a
just
4-player game.
Just about as long as what Teotihuacan would have been.
Yeah, that I would have much rather played Teotihuacan, which is a game I completely love. So just a game that completely missed for me, was really going into it with high expectations, but I don't need to play it again.
Like Devin said, that game had some really cool things about it, right? Like I really did enjoy the placing the discs on there to make your action stronger or whatever that may be. Like that was a really cool mechanic. I wish they would have advertised this game not as Teotihuacan Light, but as a completely different game. Because honestly, they could have reskinned it as anything else, not had to do anything with Teotihuacan, and I honestly think I would have enjoyed the game a little bit more. I went into it thinking it was going to be, just a simplified version of it, and it wasn't. It was completely different, and yeah, it was just a miss for us.
So that was my number 4. Paul, what you got?
My number 4 is The Lost Ruins of Arnak, right? This game came out, a couple years ago and had had a ton of hype behind it. Everybody was saying, this is the best game that's come out. And then you and I played it. We played it a couple times on Tabletop Simulator, or we played it on Board Game Arena. And it just felt like a bunch of mechanics just thrown together that none of them were really fleshed out, right? Worker placement, you're sending your people out there, but you're really only sending them out a little bit and not doing much with that. And then, you have, you're building up your deck, but you're really only seeing those cards like 1 or 2 times possibly throughout the game. And then just on top of all of that, it really seemed like whoever goes up the research track, that's the winner, right? Every time that we've played it, whoever's at the top of that track, that's who wins it. The rest of the actions don't really matter that much. So it's just a game for me that I feel like it's trying too much and it doesn't do anything necessarily good.
Yeah, trash game. Let's get to number 3. No, I'm just kidding. I do kind of think it's a trash game. It's something I just don't enjoy. I think Paul nailed every aspect of it. It tried to do too much. It did the deck building in what it thought was an interesting way. I just didn't. I thought that was a miss. I'll call it the exploration worker placement side of things. Felt very arbitrary and like it didn't matter. And yeah, really, it's just a game of who can more efficiently go up the research track. That is the actual game.
Yeah.
Everything else.
It really seemed like they had this great theme and then they made the game from that. But the game actions did not match that theme that they really wanted to portray.
Yeah, so that was it. Let's get over to our number 3s. Okay, so for my number 3, talking about deck builders, or what's supposed to be deck builders, this is fully a deck builder, and it is After Us, kind of the newest, I guess, dystopian or weird future.
Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, Planet of the Apes style game. And it just, I really enjoy deck builders. I played a decent amount of deck builders, and I didn't enjoy this one. I didn't think... I guess my initial play of it was, yeah, it's neat doing this little matchup of cards thing, but even by the end of that, it just got old. I really felt like there was a very optimal way, and I could be wrong, not playing enough, but a very optimal way of winning is just, using the Rage Monkeys, clearing out your deck, making it where you just have the number, whatever, the top level monkeys, and just keep using those, right, over and over, and then it's like you can make a point engine that just goes and run away with the game. Just didn't enjoy it. It as I said, laying the cards seemed neat. First time you played it, it was very neat. But that part also made the game drag on way longer than it should have because of all the options. You just took a while, and then somebody was taking longer because of those options.
So every year before we go to BGG-Con, we all talk about games that we want to play, and then we kind of have just secret games that we think everybody would like that we eventually teach. So this was a game that actually came up on my radar, and I saw a deck builder and I saw simultaneous play. Deck builder is Devin, simultaneous play is Joe. And I thought, and it was a game easy enough for me to learn the rules and be able to teach it, right? So I was like, this game is going to be a banger. They're going to both love it. It has both of like their favorite mechanisms. And it was, again, just one that was like, oh, this is it. This is okay. I see why, I everything about it should have been great. It just didn't work out. And I was kind of flabbergasted, just like, what's wrong with this, right? Like, what could they have done different? That mechanism that you were talking about connecting the little icons next to each other, that was really cool. That was really innovative. But after a while, like you said, it's whoever stares at it the longest can just kind of figure it out, and then the simultaneous play kind of goes out the window, right? So I don't know. It was just one that I thought was going to be really well, and it didn't.
Yeah. So what's your number 3?
So for my number 3, I have My Father's Work. This game was, I'm gonna call my holy grail game, right? When I like games, when I think about games, I want something that is narrative driven. I want something with a very heavy theme, and I very much enjoy worker placement. This has all of that in there. It killed me that the narrative was so long, and I was the one that was reading it. I'm not an uneducated person. I have a college degree. I was stumbling over so many words that it just completely took me out of the moment. And some of those passages are, it's right, we were reading on an iPad, but it would take 10, 15 minutes to read through it. And then it would say, now give the iPad to this player and let them make this decision that's in secret. So by the time you get back to playing the game, you're kind of checked out, right? Again, I really enjoy the story, but it really feels like these people just grabbed a thesaurus and just started picking words, right? They wanted to make it more than what it was. I think if those stories were a quarter of the length, this game would be one of my top games. We've played it a total of 2 times, 3 hours play through both of those. It's not a game that I want to play for 3 hours.
Yeah, probably a game I never need to play again. But with that said, Paul did hit on all the reasons I don't really want to play it again, and I completely agree. I will say the game itself, gameplay, when you strip out all of the narrative and you do all that, I actually think it's a pretty good game, right? I wish you could take those mechanics, you could take that. Carrying stuff over. You starting as one person and then being the son and then the next son or the grandson, right? And having your knowledge carry over and a little bit of the experiments carry over. I think all the gameplay, the map actually changing based off, if it could just be little excerpts and then you flip a page and the map changes from that. I think the gameplay of that game is very sound. It is a very good worker placement game. Not too deep, I would say.
I agree.
Truthfully, maybe on the mid to lighter side on gameplay. But that narrative just completely takes you out of it. You both experiences of it where you start engaged, you start like ready to do this, learn this story,
and then
you do the first few passages, and then just, man, how lengthy they are and how frequent they are. It just takes you out of it. You're eventually like, I just want to get back to playing, which is the part I'm really enjoying.
Yep. Yeah, so that is our number 3. Let's get on to number 2.
So for my number 2, this is one that I think plenty of people do enjoy. I just don't, and that is Role Player.
Fair. Yeah.
It is a game that I should just really enjoy, right? It's very crunchy, very, you can mathematically calculate out your decisions and optimal play and really crunch things down well. But even for me, it's too much. There's too much of that decision making that, I'm going to flip this dice, move this dice, do that. That I think something like a Sagrada does just infinitely better. It's funny, this has spawned, a whole universe, and I like cartographers, I like role play, I like lock up, or locked up. I just didn't think that Role Player was really that great of a game. You're really, for the most part, just trying to get the dice up to 6s, maybe a couple you need lower so you can hit a 14 on wisdom, but just overall, it was a complete miss. And for how much people talk about this game and for what it was, I thought I would enjoy it and just didn't at all.
What's funny is I really do enjoy Role Player, and I think it's just our play styles, because you go into every game wanting to mathematically get the best that you can get out of it. And yeah, when you go into that game playing it like that, it's going to take way too long for what it is. And it's just not going to be fun because you're basically doing, we'll call it schoolwork, right? You're doing, it feels like homework. When I go into it, I'm just kind of like, this could be good, but let's try this, right? I'm still trying to do the best I can, but I'm not analyzing every single move, which I mean is why you win that game and why you win most games in general.
Yeah, and you know, the one last thing I'll say is, I most time don't care too much about a theme of a game anyway. I thought I would enjoy
Yeah.
the theme of this being kind of a high fantasy theme, and to me that was just a very dry, themeless game. It could have been anything, right? Who cares what trait or religion or what morality or whatever it was? Like, it doesn't matter. I'm just trying to make that pattern. I'm just trying to get these markers. So I don't know. Complete miss for me. What about your number two?
So my number two is actually Flamecraft. Flamecraft is, it's a cute game, tons of hype behind it, and in reality, I think it's just a cute game. That's all it is. Yeah, it's a good kind of introductory game to kind of get people into the hobby and kind of teach them, the base mechanics and stuff like that. But every playthrough that we've had of it, I feel like it just drags on too long, right? I don't know. I am a very thematic person. I really want theme in a game, and this one, it just didn't draw me in. I just don't see the hype behind it.
Trash game. Let's get to number one. No, again, like you said, it's cute. I don't mean it in like a gatekeeping sort of way. I just didn't enjoy it. I thought the gameplay itself was very lackluster.
For introductory games to the hobby, there's plenty of other games that will teach those mechanics that I think do it way better for what that is, right? I think that one just got a ton of hype because of the little dragons, because of the little meeples. Now, the production quality on it is great, right? It came with that player mat. Comes with a lot of good stuff, but that's not enough to make it a game that I want to play again.
Yeah, so now let's get to our number one. So, my number one, probably another that is very popular, one that I know Paul likes, and that is Distilled. This game,
Interesting.
just a straight miss for me. There are so many mechanics in Distilled that I should really like. I should enjoy that game. I've played it now, I think, 3 times, and I just don't enjoy it. I realize I'm not having fun playing that game. It's there is the kind of the randomness of the when you're making your thing.
And the washback where you're pulling the stuff out.
Yeah, I don't typically like output randomness, but also it's that it feels like it wants to be able to build an engine with your little
Recipes.
upgrades or whatever they're
yeah.
called,
Yeah, the
distillery upgrades or whatnot. It feels like it's trying to do that kind of thing, and I really want it to, picking the right recipes, picking the right cards and things. But just ultimately, it just falls very flat for me, and I just don't really, I'm never walking away like, oh man, that was a fun playthrough of Distilled.
Yeah, I think you feel Distilled is very similar to like a Lost Ruins of Arnak, right? Like it's trying to do something, it just doesn't do it well. For me, I actually very much enjoy Distilled. It's a game that I enjoy that randomness because I go into it just thinking that's the game, that's how it plays, that's what it is, right? And we've had many discussions about, what a game should be. And for me, that's the game that we're playing. And for you, you don't want to win or lose by something random, right? For me, I'm fine with that. So yeah, I mean, that's a game that you don't enjoy, but I think it's a great one.
Okay, so what is your number one?
My number one game, this is a very popular game as well, and this is Viticulture. Viticulture is a game that on paper I should love as well, right? It's worker placement, very heavy theme, and very thematic mechanics, right? It's very intuitive. You are harvesting grapes. You are You're planting grapes, you're harvesting grapes, you're putting them in your cellar, you're aging them, you're selling them, you're collecting income to better your rounds, and everything about it makes sense. There's just something about it that just doesn't click for me. I've played it, I don't know, a handful of times. I've played it, what was it, 6 players the first time. I've played it at 4. I've played it at 2. I've played it at 1. I've tried playing it on BGA. I have tried to enjoy this game, and something about it just doesn't let me. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's just a game that I don't think I ever need to play again.
Yeah, I think I very much enjoyed Distilled, and I think it's because it's good. Yes. We did 2 alcoholic games
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
for both ours. So I very much enjoy it. Probably a top 10 game for me. But I do see your side. I think a lot of it, just my knowing your play style and whatnot, it is a game you have to not quite engine build, but be deliberate in your processes of scoring points, where you see it and it's like, oh, I should just be able to do this recipe and score the points for it. But there is a lot of, you have to be very deliberate in making sure the steps you take before then let you get to just that, and I fulfill the contract, right?
Yeah, I know for me, whenever I'm getting a contract, I want to dig through those decks and get what I need, when in reality, I should just be building up my cellar and then have enough product to sell later on for the recipes. Like exactly what you said. That's not my play style. I want points now. Yeah. That's how I like to play. Give me all the points now. I don't want to wait. So it's a game for you. It's not for me.
Yeah, very interesting that our number ones were both games that the other very much enjoys, because most of the list, I think we were pretty, we both would not play it. Or
it's not my favorite, but still enjoyable.
Yeah, get to the number ones and... I'm a wine guy, and you're a craft beer
guy. Whiskeys, and
that's what it is. It's not craft beer. Whatever.
You don't even
whatever
remember.
The stupid theme is. Yeah. That was our list. So in the comments, tell us what a game that you played, everybody loves, and just do not enjoy.
Or come at us. Tell us why our games are actually great and not just trash.
Yeah, do it. I dare you. We are Dads and Dice. Please like, comment, subscribe. All those things help us, help our channel grow. We'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, it's going to take way too long for what it is. It's going to take way too long for...